Hey guys, what's up? Today I want to show you 10 really bizarre JRPGs that I have no idea why they exist, but they do, and you probably didn't know that, and all of them were released outside of Japan. Most of them, no wait, all of them with a physical release. Oh yeah. Anyway, this is gonna be very weird and, well, bizarre, so let's begin. Number 10. The Twisted Tales of Spike McFang. No one believes me this game is real, no one. I mean, I can't blame them considering it has one of the stupidest titles ever for an RPG. Yes, this is a Japanese role-playing game, even though it looks nothing like one. I always thought the cartoonish side of it was kind of interesting. You play as Spike McFang, obviously, a vampire on a quest to stop an invasion from an evil zombie general. It's an action RPG that plays in a top-down view perspective, mostly by, well, spinning around to damage your enemies. The North American release, ironically, was even harder than its Japanese counterpart for some reason. It's also one of the rarest and most expensive JRPGs on the system. Oh, and it's also a sequel to a TurboGrafx game that never came out of Japan. And there you go, all the very important information you need to know about this extremely irrelevant game. Number 9. Zettai Hero Project. The subtitle of this game is On Losing Ranger vs Dark Dead Evil Man. By that name, you should already know that this is a comedy. You are a complete nobody whom the On Losing Ranger picks as his successor to fight evil because he dies in a car accident. Fortunately, while your total loser of a character trains in roguelike dungeons, Super Baby is keeping Dark Dead Evil Man busy. The baby is also the legendary savior from the prophecies, apparently. Now that you're the new superhero, you'll need the help of a Ranger, an uncaring, prideful jerk to train you. There's all sorts of wacky and outrageous characters involved here, but I think you get the idea of why it's here. I mean, the world of this game is called Bizarro Earth. Obviously, I had to include it. The silliness of the plot also carries over to the gameplay with even more weird features, like making your character hungry quite often for no reason, or having a damn preenie as your wife! It's a roguelike RPG where if you die, you lose everything and go back to level 1, but with increased abilities. Yep, one of those. This game was recently remastered on the Switch and Steam alongside Makai Kingdom. Give both of them a try if you're into hidden gems that are very grindy and very hard JRPGs. Number 8. Zone of the Enders, The Fist of Mars. You know that Hideo Kojima series about mechs called Zone of the Enders? There's 2 on the PS2, remastered together for the PS3 and the Xbox 360. Well, it's good to know that for some outrageous reason, they pulled this strategy RPG out of their asses. It was developed for the Game Boy Advance by a company called Winkysoft. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't trust a company with that name. Not even if they worked on some of the Super Robot Wars games. Anyway, obviously it's a side story to the original games on the PS2. The plot is kind of interesting considering it retains religious and science fiction elements like its predecessors did, but the gameplay is sort of generic and nothing pulls you in. It tried to be like the Super Robot Tyson games, but in a very mediocre sense. Well, maybe except the story, which is overly present with too much dialogue. Even if you're a fan of the series, I still wouldn't recommend this game. It's not bad by any means, but it's something that, after playing, you will forget for the rest of your life. Number 7. Trillion, God of Destruction. Developed by Idea Factory and Compile Hard with several guest members from the Disgaea team. Sounds interesting, right? In this game, you are the Demon King Diabolos, who has recently lost his powers in a battle against Trillion, the God of Destruction. That's his name because he has a trillion HP, literally. Diabolos then makes a pact with an evil witch in exchange for his soul to have 6 female overlords fighting against Trillion. The goal of the game is to train these 6 heroines in small mini-games to raise their stats in a time limit. You can only train one at a time and she will have to die in battle against Trillion to try and deplete his health. So obviously, save your favorite girl for last. Do not start with her, cause all the others will die no matter what. That's their purpose, to die! The gameplay is like in a roguelike RPG where the enemies move if you do and then battle in short turns. There are training areas to both gather items in randomized small dungeons or mock battles against a fake Trillion to test your progress. So your goal is to train one girl as much as you can in the time allowed, then damage Trillion, see her tragically die and move on to the next girl. Yeah, it's pretty heartbreaking, but it's a comedy, a really strange one, but good nonetheless. Because of its uniqueness, I do recommend this game. Number 6. Torniko: The Last Hope. This is yet another game that's really hard to believe it exists. I mean, it's a spin-off starring one of the main characters of Dragon Quest IV. Torniko, or rather Talon as he was known in the North American release, is a roguelike RPG, another one. Very unbalanced, quite uninspiring, and overly ridiculous to play. I can't believe it was designed by Yuji Horii himself, the creator of the series. I mean, who the hell would make an entire video game based on one character that no one cares about? Well, he did with the help of Matrix Software, the people behind the Alondra series. And you know what? It was a commercial success in Japan. Apparently they love this Torniko fella over there so much. Unlike in North America where the game failed miserably and critics trashed it. Is it bad? Well, not really, but it's far from being a good game that I would recommend. Number 5. Pokémon Conquest. Pokémon Conquest is a strategy RPG exclusive to the Nintendo DS and a crossover between the Pokémon series and Nobunaga's Ambition. I don't think you heard me well, so let me say that again. It's a crossover between Pokémon and Nobunaga's Ambition. What the hell is Nobunaga's Ambition? Well, it's a series of strategy games by Koei. They revolve around expanding your castle and army, invading other territories, and recruiting soldiers, just like in this game. I mean, out of all the possible ideas to make a crossover between Pokémon and something else, why in blazes would you choose Nobunaga's lame-ass Ambition? It's as if I made a crossover between Final Fantasy and Disney. Oh. Why does this game exist? Why was Tecmo Koei allowed to develop it? Why did Nintendo give its permission to use Pokémon in it? It's an extremely bizarre strategy RPG that even Pokémon fans will most definitely skip. Hidden gem? Believe it or not, yes it is. It wasn't my cup of tea, but I see nothing wrong with it. Ironically, I'm in the minority here. The game received positive reviews and apparently a lot of people liked it. It's not that I didn't, but I just couldn't believe Nintendo bastardized this weird-ass game with one of their IPs. Play it, I insist. It's actually a pretty good game, even if you're not a fan of Pokémon. Number 4. Okage Shadow King. Don't be fooled by this game's looks, because it's pretty darn good. It's actually a hilarious game. You play as Ari, an unfortunate kid who is forced into a pact with an evil king called Stanley Hi-Hat Trinidad the 14th. Yeah. This happens because Ari's crazy-ass grandfather finds a magic bottle that can cure Ari's sister from an evil curse that a random ghost put on her. Obviously things go wrong and the evil king ends up trapped inside Ares' body and becomes his shadow because I have no idea at this point, man. Rest of the plot will be to hunt down fake evil king so Stan can recover his power and conquer the world. As you've been seeing so far, the character design is deformed and deranged, as if Tim Burton himself made it. Shigeru Goto, the actual designer, must be a pretty big fan of his. However, this is a very fun RPG that focuses a lot on NPCs. Often they have different things to say and the game makes you talk to them again and again, so naturally they end up being a big part of the story. It can get kinda cryptic sometimes, but nowadays with the internet, you'll know what to do or where to go if you get lost. Encounters are not invisible, but they're still kinda random. Sometimes you'll be able to avoid the enemies flying around in the form of ghosts. Sometimes they'll appear right in your face. These enemies also with a really bizarre design, fighting turns just like you, and combat is nothing special, but I love how it completely freezes no matter what to let you select your character's next turn. It's good. At first I thought this was a mediocre and forgettable RPG, but I was so wrong. It's so unique, original and fun that I strongly recommend it. It's still kinda cheap on the PS2, but you can play its digital re-release on the PS4 with upscaled graphics. Number 3, The Wizard of Oz. Every time I've spoken about this game, it seems no one really understands its existence. I mean, a game based on the popular book is no surprise to anyone. It's the background of it that's somewhat controversial and hard to believe. So get this, it's a Japanese turn-based RPG, sort of like an anime version of it. But wait, it gets more interesting. It was developed by Media Vision, the creators of the Wild Arms series. That's right. You know, to be honest, this game is not bad. It's actually more fun to play than some of the other titles in this list, except for one thing. One freaking thing that can utterly destroy your entire experience. Everything is done with the stylus. Everything. See that green ball in the bottom screen? You need to constantly scratch it with the stylus so Dorothy can move her ass around in any direction. And yes, she's so hard to control. Play this on an emulator and you'll need to constantly click on it with your mouse to get her to move. Bad idea, Media Vision. This could have easily been a hidden gem, but no. You had to include this preposterous feature and ruin such a nice looking game. Number 2, Sakuna of Rise and Ruin. This game should have been number 10 because it's the least obscure and you probably already know it existed, but it's number 2 because it's the best JRPG in this list. Highly recommended. Story, however, is, well, Sakuna is a princess who is actually a harvest goddess, but she's pretty lazy, spoiled and mischievous. She really steals the whole game here. One day she's banished, just because some completely random human characters managed to enter the heavenly bridge that connects the lowly realm to the lofty realm. In other words, Earth and Heaven. So she fails to send them back home, but Sakuna's goddess Lady Kamuhitsuki, because gods here have their own gods apparently, is tired of her. As punishment, she sends her to an island full of demons she'll have to defeat, while growing rice to send back to heaven. Yeah. Well, it isn't the most bizarre plot, I know, but it's still pretty unique, and I love it! It's a 2D action RPG on Switch, PS4 and Steam with beautiful visuals and great combat, but yet another bizarre stuff is controlling Sakuna herself. She's pretty chaotic and most of her moves, while cool, make no sense sometimes. It feels like you're trying to move an insane monkey around that can use this magic sash thing to climb walls and attach to enemies. Yeah. Badass and bizarre looking bosses also await you here, which is the highlight of the game. They are pretty challenging, by the way, but I don't remember if there's an easy mode. For some reason I never checked. As for growing rice, it's pretty simple and the game takes your hand the whole time. It's done through small mini games that can be quite fun and addicting. I'm not usually into farming stuff, but I gotta admit I really liked it here. However, and this is another really strange feature, the only way to level up here is precisely by growing rice. Once you've grown a whole batch of it, you send it home and level up. Anyway, everything's bizarre here, but in a good way, so definitely check it out if you can. Number 1, Zanki 0 Last Beginning. I covered this game recently in my most heavily censored JRPGs video, but it had to be back here, and at number 1 no less, because it's the king of the bizarre by far. characters don't know if they're dead or alive when they wake up in this abandoned island. They'll need to find out what's going on as they try to survive. Some weird kid and a sheep appear on a TV with no explanation on how it functions. They tell you what you're supposed to do with weird-ass metaphors and funny puns. Time elapses quickly here, so characters will grow up and die very soon. They can be reborn though through an arcade machine to continue their endless cycle until you, the player, beats the game. You'll have to take care of their needs, including taking a piss, by restoring locations or finding items like food. Battles will be fought on real time, but similar to a roguelike where you move and the enemy moves too. Things like aberrant goats will be your enemies. A kid with a half-mechanical body will be your guide. She was censored in the North American release. Bedtime bonding events were left, but some with kid versions of the characters were removed. Should I go on? I haven't even covered half of its extremely bizarre shenanigans. This is the reason why this game needed to be back here so soon, and on number 1, far above the rest of the games in this list. Is it any good? Yes, it definitely is, so check it out if you can. So that's my list. Now that you know these weird JRPGs exist, I hope I made your life much better. I mean, maybe I did, some of them are pretty much hidden gems. But anyway, thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!